Director Rowe, in your testimony here today, as well as in your written testimony, you said very, very clearly that you can't defend why that building with the shooter on top of it was not better covered. You were very clear. You cannot defend that. So my question to you is, my understanding is that there's a detailed site survey that is done prior to an event to identify potential threat points. So talk to me about that site survey. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at it now after action. And how did that site survey get approved when it was so clear that that was a major threat from that building?
Thank you, Senator. So our Pittsburgh field office did the advance. During that advance, not only were they discussing amongst themselves about mitigating the line of sight, but also they were discussing with other agencies that were supporting it. Our counter snipers met with their counterparts. The team lead and team lead met. They walked the site. They identified the AGR building. And if I may, Senator, if I could point out something right now, if I may, and we will place this for the record, but this is the point of view. This is from the second floor of the AGR building. This point of view is the point of view where the counter sniper team locally was posted. The gold arrow indicates where the shooter fired from. Looking left, why was the assailant not seen? When we were told that building was going to be covered, that there had been a face-to-face that afternoon, that our team leads met, this was the view. Let me show you another view, Senator. B. This view is a reenactment by one of my agents. Laying flat. There was a 5-inch rise on the middle of that roof. The assailant would have had to present his bore over that to get his shot off. The view underneath reflects the perspective that he would have had. Again, I call your attention back to the first exhibit if they'd have looked left. Give me C. This is what our counter sniper team saw. Shooter, no elbows. You barely make out the crown of his head. Below it, the assailant up prone. And let me just tell you, our counter sniper, this individual, I know him. I consider him a friend. He has covered me operationally in conflict zones. And when I did my time on the president's detail, he exemplifies the courage, the skill, and the ability to respond under great stress in such short time to neutralize the threat and prevent further loss of life.
You know, one of the things that, and I can't believe that he's selling this horse shit right now, because first of all, the shooter was spotted 90 minutes before he got up on that roof. You want to talk about the biggest failure? That was the biggest failure. And of course, we saw the text messages sent by the Beaver County Emergency Service Unit, the one sniper that texted that and went home. I mean, you could blame him. Why didn't he face to face? He texted that information. They received it. No one acted upon it. How did they lose Thomas Crooks? How was he allowed to walk freely? He had a rangefinder. That was not suspicious in itself. They sort of cavalierly said, oh, people always bring in rangefinders to rallies where there's a presidential candidate speaking. I found that to be the most outrageous thing, that they had a suspicious individual who was flagged. In fact, he parked his car back where the police snipers had their cars, and The person that sent the text message alerted them. He's out there. He saw me with my rifle. Policing 101, security 101. You got someone suspicious? Put a tail on his ass. Have a cop there. Have a Secret Service agent follow him around. Confront him. And deactivate him for the entire rally. Number two, how do you have someone suspicious out there and then allow the former president to take the stage? How can that be explained? And this acting Secret Service head right now, Ronald Rowe, he seems to be a little bit more combative than he should be. I think he's got to be a little humbler when the agency that he is now the acting head of is being eviscerated by Congress first and now the Senate. And it's very difficult. Sharkman from the chat, so Secret Service never proactive, always reactive. Was that bike his? Where's the supposed backpack? There's many questions, Sharkman, that we don't have, but it's very easy. Tom Keene says Rowe needs to go. Wow. Everyone's getting fired these days. But these are some of the questions, and he's coming across pretty aggressively for someone that I think has to be a little more humble than he is. He's being pretty aggressive. And clearly, are you going to really point fingers at the local police? They're not in charge at this incident. You are. You're in charge. So you're going to point fingers? Oh, we told them to do this. Was there anyone who checked to see that they did what you asked them to do? Are there checks and balances, Director Rowe? These are some of the questions I would ask.
Not only did they have embeds from Butler County ESU with them, but they also had radios on the tactical net. It is troubling to me that we did not get that information as quickly as we should have. We didn't know that there was this incident going on, and the only thing we had was that locals were working an issue at the 3 o'clock, which would have been the former president's right-hand side, which is where the shot came. Nothing about man on the roof, nothing about man with a gun. None of that information ever made it over our net.
So that will change?
Yes, sir. We are working right now to figure out the interoperability and also make sure that we do have access to those channels.
That is absolutely horrific. And if you watched the other night when I had Bobby Chacon on, retired FBI agent, who used to run years ago the Oscars and all the major events on the West Coast, and he said they could actually have a whole communication system brought in. So that night of the event, they would have radios that they could disperse out to their partners and other law enforcement agencies. That was 20 years ago. They have the technology to do that. Yet, is there some kind of cultural thing that the Secret Service won't share their radios or their radio frequency?